Crosstown Chicago rivals right here on TNT. Look, this is the first time probably ever that we're getting a regular season game on TNT between the Big East and the Big Ten. And these are two teams that are looking to shock people this season. We're excited to cover it. TNT Sports College Basketball Pregame presented by Vanda Pharmaceuticals. Adam Lefkoe, the swaggy double-breasted with the clean glasses. Jalen Rose to my right. The Jamal Mashburn, who looks like he could put up 45 right now. 100%. And Bruce Pearl, who I believe you've watched more college basketball than any man in the continental United States. What did we learn this week? Take us into that big brain of yours.
Hey, November and March are my two favorite months for watching college basketball because I love this non-conference stuff. What I'm watching for are the leagues. Which leagues are the ones that are standing tall? Because when the Big Ten goes up against the Big East tonight, these games matter. The outcomes matter. So for me this weekend, it has to be Alabama winning at St. John's. That's a big win for the SEC. But then Purdue comes into Tuscaloosa, beats them last night. The best win of the year so far is Purdue at Alabama. And again, when you get to March, these outcomes matter.
So it's not too early. You're really learning things at this point of the year.
But there's no question, and I know it's a long season, but the wins at the beginning of the season matter as much to the committee as the wins at the end of the season. And these leagues are trying to line up how many bids, what are the seedings going to be, because those seedings matter as it relates to teams advancing on the road to the Final Four.
I thought he was going to go Louisville beating Kentucky.
I was going to say, are you okay?
I'm fine.
Right, so Kentucky
Matt's
and St. John's lost this week. What had happened was...
Hey, man, you know what? We all have a bad day sometimes, and Kentucky had a bad day, but I look for them to continually improve. And in this part of the year, and Bruce and I were talking about this earlier, I'm more looking at the head coaches and who they are and how they map out their team, because you're not going to find out a lot about your team because of so many transfers and moving parts. I think in that December, January is when you'll find out who your team really is and what their identity is.
We're going to learn a lot about these teams tonight, and they know a lot about each other. They faced off. This will be the 39th time that DePaul has faced off against Northwestern. You see they're separated by 11 miles, 11 stops on that purple line. DePaul is actually 15-4 against Northwestern at home. They lead the all-time series 21-17. I think this goes back to the Sigma days, where DePaul, this was a different era of DePaul Blue Demons basketball. But this matchup, this is a Northwestern team that was picked to finish 15 of 18 in the Big Ten preseason poll. I think they're more talented than that. And DePaul was picked to finish 9th in the Big East, which sounds kind of low, but they were picked to finish last the last 2 years. Just kind of looking at these teams, what are the vibe you get from Northwestern?
Well, Northwestern, I know the kid Jaden Reed. He's a speedy point guard, 5'10", can really pass the ball and also knock down an open shot. I seen him at South Florida. He transferred to Northwestern. He'll help Northwestern pick up the pace and also pick up other guards. Nick Martinelli, I think, is one of the best players that I've seen in the Big Ten. He can really score it. He can shoot the three a little bit, but he's crafty around that rim with that left hand. I mean, he reminds me a little bit, people don't kill me, a little bit of Zach Randolph from the standpoint of able to get a shot over bigs. Probably not as good in the post as Zach Randolph was, but being able to have a giant killer in the lane when you can't vertically go over top of guys.
This graphic caught your attention. It's the last 20 years.
Gotcha.
But I guess what you're saying is it doesn't seem like it's too hard to score 15 in a game, but Martinelli never goes below that.
Right, and he's very consistent, and people have compared his game a lot to Tobias Harris of my Detroit Pistons. But for Northwestern and me, like really when I think of their program, like Ricky Birdsong was at the University of Detroit, and then he went to Northwestern, and he had a lot of success there, and he passed. And it was a tragic murder when he was jogging in the morning and he was killed. And I knew him since I was a kid. And literally when I saw Northwestern, the first thing I thought about is the game we played against them when I was in college. And respectfully, it was the worst loss we ever had. We had a chance to win the Big Ten. They were betting on the game. Like, you can literally look back at this right now. Players on their team got in trouble for betting on the game.
Did they bet on themselves or you guys?
All of the above. All of the above.
Jeez.
So just when I thought I was playing for my life, I didn't realize they were playing for theirs.
Wow.
And so for me, it's great to see Northwestern actually back on a big stage.
Yes.
In the Big Ten, be so very prominent that I believe they're going to be a champion that comes out of that conference.
A lot goes to Chris Collins and what he's brought to that program. What does he have in Martinelli? Can you take us what's so special about his game?
Man, he's ugly. He's old school, you know. He doesn't have a ton of skill. He just gets it done. You know, he's going to be playing in the men's league someday. He's going to look just like that. Look at the poach. Page seals the post. Martinelli goes down as early in the game. Little hezzy. He's got the strong left hand. That's an easy finish. Now a couple pick and roll plays. Here's a pop. And he's going to pop, not about an advantage. Jefferson from Iowa State's overplaying his strong left hand. He drives the slot downhill. Plays off 2 feet and finishes with the offhand. That makes him a cuff trummer. This time, rather than popping, he takes a screen and frees it right there. He gets into the short roll. Now, that's a real disadvantage. He could throw that ball up to the rim, but again, instead, he takes it to the floor, puts it on the floor, and goes to the weekend. The last thing, classic side pick and roll. And Mash, this is what he didn't have in his game. This is an exhibition game against Iowa State. He didn't have that in his bag before. And so teams were able to play off him a little bit. Yeah. If he gets that three-pointer out there and it extends the defense, it's going to make him even more effective as a scorer and a passer.
Well, I think sometimes people don't really truly understand the value of a scorer and how a scorer can get it in multiple ways. Three-point shooting, mid-range, around the basket. I think it helps all the other players and takes a lot of pressure. If you're going to do anything in college basketball, you got to have somebody that can put it in the hole, and Nick can definitely do that.
Said by a prolific scorer.
100%.
And two guys I know you would appreciate that he led the Big Ten in minutes last year.
Yeah.
So he shows up in an era of low management.
It's a very new-looking Northwestern team. 5 players graduated, 8 newcomers. This is Trey Singleton right here, the highest-rated recruit in Northwestern history. But they also went out and got some transfers. Arrington Page coming from Cincinnati, averaging 14 and 9 right now, giving them some size down low. And you mentioned earlier Jaden Reed, who's like a 19-2 assist to turnovers. This is a team completely new look. One of those teams that we want to get a look at right now to see how good they can be.
Well, we're going to see how good they can potentially be. I think when this all starts to gel with the new players and the existing players that are there, around that December mark, January mark, when people go on Christmas break and the coaches can have more time on the court with them, I think you see the real potential start to flourish. But I like this particular mix of players, and I think at the lower part of the level of conferences, you're going to have key transfers, some guys returning, some international players.
They have all the pieces here.
And also some high school players as well.
And that's what Chris Collins has been able to do. You know, with his background, obviously I love his father, Doug, was in the NBA a long time, and Chris played at Duke, and he's doing a terrific job.
You know, I was going to say, he was right in your guys' era, early 90s.
He had to bring Duke up.
I did. But what he brought is a budget. You know, like, we're going to try to get a practice
Well, when you get to the tournament for the
gym.
first time ever, you get more. But you wanted to chime in on those guys.
I think Collins is the common denominator. Well, there's a lot of new dudes. You got a new point guard, new frontline guy. Page, I saw him in high school at Wheeler High School. Didn't play at Cincinnati. Didn't play at USC. He thinks he got a steal. He thinks this is an SEC athlete that's going to change his team. But Chris Collins is the common denominator.
Yeah.
They play old school, tough, physical, hard-nosed basketball. If Northwestern doesn't turn the ball over, because DePaul's got athletes, and they're quick.
Yeah.
Chris does a great job. If Northwestern takes care of the ball, they'll win the battle on the inside. They've got the advantage against them.
I want to give credit to assistant coach Chris Lowry came over, revamped that defense, and coaching is also the theme for DePaul. The only team in college basketball that has 5 coaches on staff that have been head coaches before. Wow. This is a DePaul team that has good strategy, and they do have veterans returning 3 of their 4 top scorers from last year. They got NJ, they got CJ, they got RJ, they have RJ Smith, they got all the acronyms there. But, Coach, when you look at DePaul, what sticks out to you?
Well, athletes, a great coach that has won, went to NCAA tournament 7 years in a row at Butler and Ohio State, right? I think tonight's going to be a great environment. This is an inner city game. This is a game in Chicago. And there are some, local kids. Martinelli's from, Glenbrook South. I mean, these are local kids. And St. John's and DePaul made the biggest increases in attendance a year ago. I mean, they're starting to get excited about DePaul basketball. It's been 2 decades.
DePaul was 3-29 2 years ago.
Yeah.
In Holtman's first season, they were 14-20. That's a huge turnover.
Yeah, correct. They're going to be well coached, and if DePaul can somehow get the pace of this game up. Because both these teams would rather play a little slower pace. You're right about the new guard from South Florida. He's going to pick up the pace a little bit for Northwestern. I think first to 60 might win this one. I just don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Both teams are pretty solid defensively.
Well, I had to bring in, the Kentucky relationship. Dwayne Peavy was the deputy athletic director at Kentucky, and I chatted with him, and he's a new athletic director there for the last 5 years, I would say.
In.
Yeah, I had to get him in there. But I chatted with him yesterday, and what was interesting was the money that they have to raise and the importance of building a practice facility. I was a little bit spoiled going in Kentucky. We already had a practice facility. That was called Memorial Stadium. That's at 18,000. But the importance of having a practice facility where your kids can go in, you're not pressed for time, you can work on things. And DePaul really needs it because they don't shoot free throws really well. So they're last in the Big Ten in free throws. So they got to do a better job of that.
Jalen, I got a big question for you. There are certain media markets that you go, man, this is Chicago. There's really no competition. The recruiting that you could do in Chicago, if you take it over and why hasn't it happened? What's your theory on this?
So you're going to have a few people mad at me when I answer this question. So I felt like that about a few programs the entire time. I've always felt like that about USC. It's downtown LA.
Right.
I felt like that about Loyola Marymount. That's headed toward Malibu in California, and DePaul in Chicago. Coach literally said the key thing, because he's a recruiter and he's been one of the best to ever do it. He said it's an inner city game. Illinois is not a Chicago team. Northwestern isn't considered a Chicago team.
Right.
If you're a DePaul and you have a chance to build a facility, ching, ching, real estate in Chicago is very expensive.
Correct.
So now...
Yeah, it's easier to build in the country. That's
correct.
True.
So if they're able to get the kind of money to support their program, I've always felt Chicago's had some of the greatest players, not only at their program, but to come out of the city that didn't go to DePaul. And as somebody that watched Rod Strickland and Mark Aguirre and Dallas Comegys and so many great players, I always was like, Derrick Rose at Memphis? I love John Calipari, but I'm like, yo, he should be at DePaul.
I'm trying to figure out how they got Rod Strickland out of New York. So there has to have been some NIL money passing hands on that part of it. But I think also, too, kids are not staying at their local high school. They're going to prep schools. And that's around the country to face the best competition. So it's kind of like one of those things. When I played New York City, I didn't want to go to St. John's because the standard of living is I'm going from one project to another, and that's off-campus housing. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to see something different. So that's one of the reasons I didn't go to St. John's and be a local kid.
My wife went to St. John's, so chill.
Mark Jackson about to be texting
Patino call you
right now.
But look, this is big. This is the Battle of Chicago tonight. DePaul is angry. They're upset. Northwestern is coming in looking to make a big shockwave through the Big Ten. And we have a feeling the energy is going to be pumping in Chicago tonight. We're going to break down the Big Ten, the Big East next here on TNT.